I'm Camille Jampolsky, and I was the COVID 2020 president. Well, I can safely say it was like none other before. The club was closed down mostly. It reopened slowly to close again with restrictions when it was open. We had restrictions of wearing masks. Sometimes we could only be outside. Social distancing. Open just to close again. It was just a year of uncertainty. The club was mostly closed, and as I said, it was periodically opened and then opened with restrictions. I think that when it did open, people were so hungry for a social outlet that we couldn't wait. The decks were full of people gathering at their tables. Social distancing was the theme of the year. It was different. It was different. It was just a year of uncertainty for everybody and a year of loss and fear and just anticipation of what was going to happen. Becoming auxiliary president was a high honor for me, and it wasn't so much that I was driven to become the president. It was more of a duty I felt that I owed to myself and the club. I was drawn to the auxiliary by the ladies, all the ladies that participated in it when I wasn't in it. It was a fun group of ladies, and it was a way for me to meet people outside of my normal circle of friends that I typically wouldn't run into and wouldn't be able to form close bonds and relationships with. Fond memory of COVID presidency. I really didn't recognize at the time that I would have fond memories, but looking back now, I have so many because everything was so different in my year. It turned out the only two real normal events I had were the joint board mixer and the auxiliary potluck. And then in March, Marin County was shut down. We were closed and everybody was stuck at home. And we were kind of in modification mode for auxiliary. At this point, we had to continue to prepare like we were going to have events, yet knowing all along the way that it was highly likely that we would not. We had to prepare with the notion in mind that they would likely be modified, so we had to have thoughts of how we could modify the events. So I think the energy that my board put into trying to be creative to keep this energy at the club and keep the events flowing and keep people in a frame of mind that was distracted from COVID. We modified events, and I have to say that our events were different than any other year. We brought the Matthew Turner in for Dream Boats, which I think they're still bringing the Matthew Turner in periodically. It was so popular because everybody was so thirsty for a social connection at this time, and we had no idea how the event would go. It was a big leap of faith for us because it was expensive to bring the boat in, and we knew that we had to have a certain number of people participating to make this work out. And it just turns out this year, when COVID hit and we were in shelter in place longer than our 2-3 weeks, and I think we were opening and closing and opening and closing, we realized that it wasn't an appropriate year to do our fundraising. It just didn't feel right because so many businesses were closed down. People's financial future was uncertain. So we made a big move and said, we are canceling all fundraising events this year. And we are very fortunate to have had incredible boards prior to us that were so responsible with their fundraising and with their accounting and saving money that we knew we didn't have to depend on fundraising to host our events. We had that security blanket. We had backup funds that we could dip into for this. And we were responsible in that we wanted to kind of go into, I don't want to say panic mode, but just scratch everything down to the bare minimum and not spend very much. And we felt that we really didn't need to spend a lot because people were just thirsty to gather and be together. The club is my family. Oh, it's our social outlet. It's our home away from home. It's our extended family, sometimes dysfunctional but fun, and it's our social outlet. The fashion show. The fashion show didn't happen my year, so that's kind of funny, we ask. No fashion show my year, it was canceled, like many of the events. I chaired the Auxiliary Cup for 2 years, so this event is very dear to my heart. I understand the enormous amount of effort it takes to make this event happen. In 2020, Auxiliary Cup was a modified event. We, instead of having several boats racing, we modified it to Catch Me If You Can. I believe Jenny Crone was the chair that year. So this enabled captains, skippers to gather their group of friends in their circle. It was a COVID year, and when we socialized, we often kept in small circles of friends that we felt safe with. It gave them an opportunity to gather their small groups on their boats and still participate in Auxiliary Cup with a different name. For Dreamboats in 2020, we had to significantly modify the event. We could not have many boats going out hosting people on the boat, again, because we typically gathered in small social circles, and it would have been difficult to get enough boats out and have participants enjoying the event. Also, this was a time when everybody at the club was thirsty for social gatherings, just interactions, and so we decided to bring the Matthew Turner to the club. And I believe Leslie Ruland was chair that year, and this was her idea, to bring the Matthew Turner to the club. And it was kind of a stretch for us because we understood that it was going to require a certain number of participants to make it worth the investment. However, we did feel that if we lost money in this investment, it wouldn't be a bad thing because it was helpful to the club and the whole club benefited to the opportunity to be again in a social environment with our friends. Bringing the Matthew Turner to the club allowed us to be on a boat outside in the open air with masks. We had lunch, we had drinks, we had a beautiful sailing experience, and it was very, very well attended. People at that time were just excited to be together and hungry to be on the water and to be with friends. I hope the Auxiliary continues to be the social outlet for the club and to attract whoever wants to participate and learn how Auxiliary contributes to the club and what it takes to host our events. I did experience a lot of personal growth during my presidency, and I really don't think I noticed it at the time because it really was a panic time. I think I felt a lot like a failure because I wasn't able to host the events as my predecessors had. We were scrambling, I was scrambling to try to find meaning for our 2020 Auxiliary group of ladies. We were trying to figure out what we can do to help the club if we cannot host our events. How else can we contribute? Early on, I think it was in May, we decided that we should reach out to our community to see if we can help, because at this time we couldn't gather, but we did know that maybe there were people that couldn't go to the grocery store safely because they couldn't be around other people. Maybe people couldn't pick up their medication. So we thought the best method to get this word out that the Auxiliary ladies were willing to help would be to contact the past presidents. So in May, I formed a letter to all the past presidents, letting them know that the Auxiliary is here, and if anybody themselves or anybody they know needs assistance, that we'd be happy to help out. And it was at that time that the club also reached out to Auxiliary because they were doing the same thing and asked that we join forces. It really seemed that most people were taken care of by friends and family, that it didn't turn out that we needed to do that, but I think just that we were offering made us feel better. Looking back on my year, I think I learned to lead. I was not comfortable at leading. I was very, very nervous at the very beginning. Toward the end, it was Hail Mary. Let's just get through this and make it happen the best we can. So yeah, I think I had a lot of personal growth, and I think we all learned a lot about ourselves during COVID because we spent a lot of time by ourselves during COVID. I am not a sailor. I love to sail. I like to be on the water. I think that it's a wonderful sport that allows women to connect, to form camaraderie, to actually grow, to gain confidence. One of the missions of the auxiliary is to provide a path for women to get on the water, and sailing, especially the Auxiliary Cup, provides that for many ladies who don't sail like myself. I am not an avid sailor. I appreciate sailing. I love it. I absolutely love the Auxiliary Cup because it gives ladies, especially those who aren't sailors, the opportunity to get on the water, to form a camaraderie and a trust with other ladies, and at the same time gain confidence in themselves and their capabilities. Well, in March, when we had our shelter in place, the entire auxiliary needed to learn Zoom. So we all, it was trial and error. There were problems. We had to learn how to work our computers, how to sign on to Zoom. We carried on all of our meetings for the remainder of the year by Zoom. We learned that we can be professional on top and have pajamas on the bottom. We learned how to modify events and how to go on and how to continue to have fun despite the obstacles that were thrown our way. I think that it created a tight-knit group of ladies because we were thrown out of our normal way of working. We had to try to modify and invent new ways to be the social outlet for the club, which is primarily the auxiliary's job.